People always say never lend money to a friend unless you're ready to lose both the cash and the friendship. But when I handed my best friend my entire life savings, I wasn't thinking about warnings or consequences or betrayal. I was thinking about trust, the kind you spend years building, the kind you swear is unbreakable. So when he disappeared the very next day with every dollar I owned, I thought it was the worst thing that had ever happened to me. But I had no idea that the truth was darker, stranger, and far more dangerous than simple betrayal. Because the money I gave him didn't ruin my life, he vanished to save it. Before I tell you what happened, like the video and subscribe, because this story will make you question every friendship you have ever trusted. My name is Lauren Parker, and until last spring, I believed nothing could ever come between me and my best friend Tyler Reeves. We grew up two houses apart in a quiet New Jersey suburb, the kind of place where kids rode bikes in cul-de-sacs and neighbors borrowed sugar, and everyone showed up for the 4th of July barbecue. Tyler and I were the inseparable kind of friends. We survived middle school drama, high school heartbreak, college applications, and the mess of early adulthood together. He was the first person I called when something good happened, and the only person I called when something bad did. He didn't have much growing up. His dad left when he was little, and his mother worked double shifts just to keep the lights on. But Tyler had a kind of loyalty that felt rare. If he loved you, he protected you. If he promised you something, he delivered. If you needed him, he showed up. No excuses. Which is why when I handed him $32,000, everything I had saved over 7 years, I didn't hesitate. I trusted him more than I trusted myself. The money was supposed to be in his account for 48 hours, just 2 days while my bank sorted an error on a transfer hold. I needed the funds accessible fast because I was finally ready to launch my bakery storefront, the dream I had been building from my tiny apartment kitchen for years. I had figured out my branding, my suppliers, my equipment, and even secured a small space in a strip mall right off Route 9. All I needed was the deposit, $32,000, my everything. I handed Tyler the envelope after dinner at our usual diner, a little place called Miller's with cheap coffee and vinyl booths that stuck to your legs in the summer. He promised to deposit it first thing in the morning. He promised he'd keep it safe. He promised he'd drop it off as soon as my bank called me back. He promised. The next morning, his phone went straight to voicemail. By lunchtime, I wasn't worried. He had a terrible habit of letting his phone die or leaving it at home or dropping it between couch cushions. But by late evening, a knot formed in my stomach. I texted again. I called. I FaceTimed. Nothing. At midnight, I drove to his apartment. His car wasn't in the lot. His lights were off. His landlord said he hadn't seen him all day. By the next morning, I felt the creeping numbness of panic. I called again. I knocked again. I sent long messages begging him to answer. I checked hospitals. I checked the police database. Nothing. No accidents, no arrests, no activity. By day 3, I filed a missing persons report. The officer who took my statement was polite, but the kind of polite that hides skepticism. You said he left with $32,000 cash? Yes, I whispered, hearing how bad it sounded. And now he's missing? No communication? None. Ma'am, he said softly, people run with less. For the first time, doubt slashed through me, a fear I didn't want to name. What if Tyler really took it? What if he left me? What if I never saw him or my future again? My mom suggested I move on. My brother said he probably planned this. My coworkers said these things happen all the time. But none of them knew Tyler. None of them knew the way he once stood up for me in ninth grade when a group of seniors tried to corner me. None of them knew he walked an hour in the rain to get to my college graduation when his car broke down. None of them knew the boy who used to split his lunch with me just because he said my mom's cooking tasted better than anything in the cafeteria. He wasn't perfect, but he wasn't a thief. 3 weeks passed before anything shifted. It happened at a gas station convenience store on a Thursday night when I stopped for a soda after work. I stepped out of my car and noticed a man leaning against the ice machine pretending to scroll his phone, but watching me in the reflection of the window. Something about him felt wrong. His eyes followed me too sharply. His posture was too still. His clothes too plain. Like someone trying to blend in. When I walked back to my car, he shifted as if about to follow me. But when someone else pulled into the lot, he stayed put. That night I noticed a dark gray sedan trailing me on my drive home. When I turned toward my apartment, the car continued straight, but my gut twisted. Someone was watching me, and for the first time in my life, I locked every door, window, and closet in my apartment before going to bed. The next morning, I found something taped to my door, a plain white envelope, no stamp, no writing. Inside was a single piece of paper with handwriting I recognized instantly. Lauren, if you find this, do not call me. Do not tell anyone. Do not go straight home. Someone is following you. I am trying to fix this. Please trust me. It was Tyler's handwriting. Messy, slightly crooked, rushed. He was alive. But the letter raised more questions than it answered. Who was following me? What was he trying to fix? And what exactly had happened to my money? I spent the day replaying everything. The cash, the disappearance, the strange man at the gas station, the car behind me, Tyler's letter. It didn't add up to theft. It added up to danger. I dug deeper. I checked his apartment again. Still empty. But this time I found a detail I hadn't noticed before. His bedroom window had a crack around the latch like someone had forced it open. His laptop was gone. Not stolen gone. The charging cable was neatly coiled on the desk, but the device itself had been removed intentionally. Tyler had left in a hurry. A terrified hurry. I checked his workplace. They said he hadn't shown up for 2 weeks before his disappearance. I talked to his neighbors. One said she heard arguing in the hallway the night before he vanished. Another said she saw a black SUV parked outside with tinted windows that didn't belong to anyone in the building. By evening, I sat in his living room trying not to fall apart. His couch still smelled like his cologne. His sneakers sat by the door exactly where he always left them. Nothing about the place felt abandoned. It felt frozen, like he wanted to return but couldn't. Then I noticed something under the coffee table. A tiny flash drive. I plugged it into my laptop in the safety of my apartment, with every light on and every blind closed. At first, nothing appeared. Then one folder loaded. It was labeled L, my initial. Inside were 3 video files and a note. The note was password protected. The videos were not. I clicked the first. It was security footage, a shaky recording from what looked like a parking lot camera. At first, the angle showed nothing but cars and shadows. But after a few seconds, a figure ran into frame. Tyler. He was limping, clutching his side, looking over his shoulder like someone was chasing him. Then he ducked behind a truck. A black SUV turned the corner slowly, its headlights off. 2 men stepped out, scanning the lot. My stomach went cold. Tyler had been telling the truth. Someone was after him. The video ended abruptly. I clicked the second file. This one was recorded on a phone. Tyler held the camera close, his face pale, his eyes frantic. Lauren, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know what else to do. I'm trying to keep you safe. They want something they think you have, but you don't. I took the money because it was the only way to buy time. I know what this looks like, but please don't trust anyone. Not even the police. I'll fix this. I swear I'll fix this. The video cut off mid-sentence like he was interrupted. I tried the third file, but it was corrupted. I returned to the password-protected note. I tried his birthday, his mom's birthday, my birthday, our street number. Nothing. At 1:12 a.m., someone tried to open my front door. The knob rattled slowly, deliberately. Not like a drunk neighbor confusing apartments, like someone testing the lock. I froze in the dark, barely breathing. The footsteps moved to my window. Then after a long minute, they faded. The next morning, I packed a bag and drove straight to a cheap motel 20 minutes out of town. I paid cash. I used a fake name. I turned my phone off and took the battery out. I didn't know who to trust. I didn't know how big this danger was. I only knew one thing. Tyler left clues because he wanted me to find him. And I would. Even if it meant stepping into the same danger that swallowed him whole. I didn't sleep at all in that motel. The walls were thin, the air stale, and every sound in the parking lot made me flinch. Around sunrise, I finally found the nerve to open my laptop again. I replayed Tyler's videos over and over, searching every frame for something I might have missed. A sign, a streetlight, a reflection, anything. On the sixth replay, I noticed something small. In the corner of the first video, the security camera footage, a street sign was barely visible behind the SUV. It wasn't clear, but I recognized the shape, the curve, the strange dent at the top. It was from the industrial district halfway between our town and Newark, a place full of warehouses, trucking companies, and abandoned factories, a place nobody went unless they worked there, a place where danger could swallow someone whole and nobody would notice. I grabbed my keys. Before leaving the motel, I checked the parking lot 3 times. Nobody lurking, no suspicious cars. I left the lot like I was afraid of breaking the speed limit. Every instinct in my body told me this was a terrible idea, but my loyalty was louder than my fear. Tyler had protected me my entire life. Now it was my turn to protect him. The industrial district was a graveyard of forgotten buildings. Most windows were broken, graffiti wrapped around walls like vines. The only sounds were distant trucks and the echo of my own heartbeat. I drove slowly, scanning every alley, every loading dock, every empty lot. Then I saw it, the same black SUV from Tyler's video, parked behind an abandoned printing factory. My hands shook so badly I had to grip the steering wheel with both palms. I parked 2 blocks away on a side street and approached on foot. There was no one in the SUV. The windows were too tinted to see inside, but the engine was cold. Whoever had driven it was inside the building. I needed a way in without being seen. I circled the building until I found a side entrance with a broken lock. I slipped in quietly. The interior smelled like rust and old paper. Dust floated in the air like fog. Metal machines towered above me, silent skeletons of a business long dead. Then I heard voices, 2 men talking down the hall. I pressed myself against a wall and listened. "You think she'll show?" one man said. "She has no choice," the other replied. "The girl is looking for him, and he'll try to contact her eventually." "And the money?" "She doesn't have it. It's somewhere else. He hid it." "What about him?" "We'll make him talk." My stomach flipped. They were talking about Tyler. They were waiting for me. I crept toward the sound, following it into a stairwell. The metal steps creaked under my weight, but I moved slowly enough to muffle the noise. At the bottom was a basement corridor lit by flickering overhead bulbs. Water dripped somewhere. The air was cold and heavy. A heavy door stood at the end of the hallway. I heard a muffled groan from behind it. My heart cracked. Tyler. I checked the handle. Locked. But beside the door was a small wired window covered in grime. I wiped it with my sleeve and peered through. What I saw nearly dropped me to my knees. Tyler was tied to a chair in the center of the room, his wrists bound behind him, his face bruised and swollen. He looked exhausted, like he'd been awake for days. His right leg was bandaged with something makeshift stain, dark with dried blood. A man stood over him, holding a small flashlight, shining it in his eyes. "You have one more chance," the man said. "Where is the money?" Tyler spit blood on the floor. "Not with me." "Then who has it?" "No one you can touch." The man punched him. I covered my mouth to keep from screaming. I needed to help him, but I was unarmed, outnumbered, and had no idea what these men were capable of. Then something unexpected happened. Another man burst through the opposite door. "The girl is here," he said breathlessly. "We found her car 2 blocks away." Panic surged through me. I backed away from the window and scrambled around the corner, pressing myself into a shadow where the hallway bent. Footsteps thundered up the stairs. 3 men rushed past me toward the front of the building. They didn't know I was already inside. As soon as the sound faded, I sprinted back to Tyler's door. I needed a weapon, something heavy, something sharp, anything. I found an old rusted wrench on a workbench and grabbed it with both hands. I smashed the small wired window. Glass and dust rained down. I reached inside and flipped the lock. The door swung open with a screech. Tyler jerked up in shock. "Lauren? No, 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 you weren't supposed to come." "We don't have time," I whispered, rushing to unbind him. "They're looking for me. We need to move." His wrists were raw and shaking. When he stood, he nearly collapsed. I caught him under the arm. "What did they want? What is going on?" I whispered as we moved. "Later," he said through clenched teeth. "Right now, we need to get out." But as we reached the stairs, footsteps pounded above us again. They were coming back. We ducked into the nearest door, a supply closet barely bigger than a pantry. Tyler leaned against the wall, breathing hard, while I held the wrench like it was a sword. The footsteps stopped right outside. "Search this floor," a voice barked. "They're close." I held my breath. The doorknob rattled. The door began to open. Tyler grabbed my wrist. "Run on 3, he whispered. 1, 2. Before he reached 3, I shoved the door with all my strength, slamming it into the man standing outside. He stumbled back, cursing. Tyler grabbed me and we sprinted down the hall. Shouts echoed behind us. Someone fired a shot. The bullet hit the wall inches from my head. We burst through a side exit and into the daylight. "Which way?" I gasped. "Not your car," he said. "They'll be watching it." So we ran. Through alleys, across an empty lot, over a rusted fence. By the time we collapsed behind an abandoned auto shop, both of us were shaking. "Tyler, what the hell is happening?" I finally said. "Tell me the truth. All of it." He wiped sweat from his forehead, his chest rising and falling rapidly. "I didn't steal your money," he said. "I know," I whispered. "I used it to buy something," he said. "Something that was supposed to protect you." "What does that even mean?" Tyler looked at me with eyes full of guilt and fear. "Those men, they're part of a criminal ring. They launder money through local businesses, including the loan company you tried to work with 2 years ago." I froze. That loan company had rejected me after asking for personal documents that felt unnecessary. I'd forgotten about it entirely. "They flagged your application," Tyler continued. "Your info ended up in their system. They thought you had something valuable, something they lost, something worth a lot more than $32,000. What could I possibly have?" "Your identity," he said, "but not in the way you think. Someone hacked their operation last year and used your name as a cover. They think you're involved. They think you're hiding the stolen data. They think you're a threat." My blood ran ice cold. "I found out by accident," he said. "I recognized your name and emails on a coworker's laptop. He was working with them. I took screenshots, and that's why they came after me." My hands trembled. "So the money? I used it to buy the hacked data from a broker before they could get to it. I thought if I had it, I could clear your name. But they found out. They thought I gave it to you. I ran, I hid. I didn't disappear because I stole from you, Lauren. I disappeared because I was trying to keep you alive." My throat tightened. "And the money?" I whispered. "It's safe," he said. "Buried. Hidden. They'll never find it." I looked at him for a long time. "Tyler, why would you do all this for me?" He swallowed. "Because you're the only family I have." Before I could respond, the roar of an engine echoed down the street. The black SUV. They'd found us. "Lauren, run!" Tyler shouted. But I didn't run, not without him. We darted into the auto shop, but there was nowhere to hide. The building was empty except for rusted car lifts and old tires. The ground shook as the SUV stopped outside. "They're coming," he whispered. "Then we fight," I said, gripping the wrench. "No," he said. "We end this." He limped to an old fuse box and ripped it open. "When they come in, pull that lever." What does it do? Trust me. The door burst open. 3 men stormed in. I stood behind a stack of tires, heart pounding. Tyler stepped forward, hands raised. It's over. I'll tell you everything. Just don't hurt her. The leader smirked. Smart choice. As he stepped closer, Tyler shouted, Now! I yanked the lever. Sparks exploded across the ceiling. The shop roared with electricity as a loose grid of live wires lit up like lightning. The men dove back, but too late. The shock wave knocked them off their feet, disorienting them long enough for Tyler to grab my hand and drag me through a small side door into the alley. We ran until we couldn't run anymore. When we finally stopped miles away, Tyler collapsed onto the curb. It's over, he said breathlessly. The police will find them unconscious. The data is hidden. You're safe. But what about you? I whispered. He smiled weakly. I'll heal. I sat beside him. You ruined my life for 2 months, I said quietly. I know. You scared me half to death. I know. You saved my life. He looked down. I know. I rested my head on his shoulder. I want my money back, I said. You'll get it. Every dollar. Just maybe not today. Tomorrow? Maybe next week. Tyler, he laughed. Fine. Tomorrow. I wrapped my arm around him. You're an idiot, I whispered. Yeah, he said, but I'm your idiot. And for the first time in months, I finally believed it.